Hi everyone. I'll just see who's going to join us and then I will invite Shanee. Hi Anouk. Shanee is here. Okay, let's add her. Let's see if Shanee can be added. How are you?
Very good.
Oh, you have a cat. Who is this?
This is Jenny.
Aww.
Jenny the ginger kitty.
You got two cats, right?
Yes. The other one is Amy. She's the black one.
Oh.
This one is super snuggly.
Oh, I can hear her purring.
Yeah, she purrs like a pigeon. It's very cute.
Okay, so we've got a few people joining us. I'll wait till we get a few more and then I'll hit us with the questions. I've got a few that I want to ask you, but to all of you who are watching us, please do drop a question in. At the bottom there's like a question mark symbol. If you just hit that, you can ask us something as we go along. We've got an hour. So I'm just going to start off by saying that thank you for joining me. And I am aiming to do a live stream at least once a week with as many women instructors as I can from the Hema community. So let's start off by the standard question, which is, how is your lockdown going, Shanee?
Yeah, it has positives and negatives.
Mm-hmm.
I miss people, and I probably can't look at the news anymore because it's so depressing.
Yeah. You moved to the UK not that long ago, did you?
Yeah, just in July last year. Finally came back here after 3.5 years of exile in the USA.
Which is something that you'd been looking forward to.
Moving back.
Yeah. So when you were in the USA, tell us about because you started out Hema in the UK, didn't you? With the English Martial Arts is it Academy?
Yes.
With Oz.
Yeah.
Tell us about your Hema journey and what brought you all the way to back here again, there and back again.
So like you say, I started with English Martial Arts Academy in Guildford. How did I get there? So I can't quite explain it, but I just wanted to play with swords for a long time in my life. Mm-hmm. But I could never find a way to do it. Mm-hmm. And
because you're originally from Israel, aren't you?
Yes.
And you moved to Guildford for your work?
Yeah. So when I joined Google, I moved to Guildford and worked in London. Mm-hmm. My boyfriend was in Guildford at the time, so that's why we lived there. And he found out about Hema through Back to the Source, the video.
Oh, the documentary by our friend Cedric, Oatville. Yes.
So he found the video and showed it to me, and he found Oz's club in Guildford, and we both joined it. And I continued, and he stopped.
Okay.
And Lucy, who was instructing with Oz,
now Lucy Easton.
Lucy Easton, yes. Invited me to Fight Camp, where I met you. Mm-hmm. And then I also joined your club. And I stayed with you guys until
that's the School of the Sword.
The School of the Sword, yes. In Godalming. And I stayed with you until I moved to California, where I participated in 3 different clubs.
Oh, wow. And you
Actually,
started out
4.
one of your own as well, didn't you?
Yeah, so I participated with Tossetti in Redwood City.
Were they all within easy reach of you then?
Relatively, yeah. So there were a couple that were a bit further away. There was Sacramento Sword School, which was in Sacramento, which was a good few hours away, which Kate and I visited every now and then. There was Davin Ridge, which was very close to us, and we used to go there for a while. And then there was the Santa Cruz Five-Factor Guild, I think.
So a good number of places to visit.
Yes.
And you, just to sort of give a bit of context, so you started out learning George Silver's backsword, and then you joined us and you learnt some Italian side sword and a bit of rapier, and then you went to America, and that's where I think you fell in love with German longsword. Is that correct?
Not
or was it
quite.
before that?
Yeah, it was a little bit before that. So when I went to fight camp, I actually met Keith Farrell, and just seeing how graceful he is and how he moves with the longsword made me fall in love in the mechanics, and well, made me at least want to try before falling. And yeah, when I moved to the USA, pretty much everyone was doing longsword in Silicon Valley area. So I started doing more and more longsword, and I started my own club at Google, and one of
Google of the sword.
Yes. And one of the weapons that people wanted to do was the longsword. So we focused on that for a while, changing back and forth to side sword and rapier every now and then. And partisan. Actually, I also really like partisan.
Fun.
Yes.
Partisan is fun. Not enough partisan.
No, let's do it. When we finally meet, we can play with partisan.
Absolutely. So, and then you eventually came back last summer.
Yeah, in July. But before that, I actually also went to train quite a bit in Canada.
Oh, of course, yes, in Vancouver.
Yes. Luckily, Vancouver was only about 2 hours flight, and I went to Academy Duello quite a bit with Devon Bowman.
Yeah.
Yes. I learned a lot from him. And now I'm here in lovely Stratford-upon-Avon and have my new club here, which I'm very excited about, except that, like everyone, it's currently not functioning.
I know, we've all had our plans thrown out the window, haven't we? I mean, we've all sort of been building up to, I think in your case, like it's been Stratford swords. We've all been sort of anticipating Stratford swords. And I think something that you've done that I admire is that you've not only been on this journey and tried out all these different schools and weapons and things, and decided, right, I'm going to found my own club, my own school. Obviously, the first thing that a school needs is instructors, and your friend Elizabeth, who is going to be joining you running the school with you, is fairly new to Hema. So you're like, a lot of people when they're sort of in that position, like I need an instructor. What do I do? Or I need to be the instructor. What do I do? They don't have a clue. And you had this brilliant plan of, I'm going to send my protege off to Academy Duello in Canada to do an intensive instructors course, which I think is fantastic. And I thought that was amazing. We're all waiting for eventually when the lockdown ends and then your school can open and begin. And what's your primary focus at Stratford Swords?
Yeah, so at the moment it is going to be longsword. I'd like to mix it up, like have partisan and rapier, but we'll need to figure out how it actually works. I love focusing on mechanics and getting them really into people's heads and habits. So I want to avoid changing weapons too frequently. Oh yeah, I see on the chat, Elizabeth really did suffer, didn't she?
Poor Elizabeth. We're all jealous of Elizabeth.
Just swording like 24 hours for an entire week. How terrible.
Mm.
She'll never repeat that experience, will she? I was kind of jealous, but no, it's really good. I highly recommend anyone to do the course. And yeah, it's really good. Yeah, actually, this is a thing that I'd like more people in Hema to do. Like, if you have someone who is super passionate and looks like they're promising, just help them develop. Like, the only way for us to get more women instructors is if we support other women in this art and help them become instructors. Because, in Hema, there is not really a formal way to
people just kind of fall into the role, don't they? They just kind of just stumble along and eventually gather enough experience and go, yeah, I think I know enough now, I can teach someone. But if you can give someone that boost, that head start, that's going to make their confidence so much better than if they're just left, right, off you go and teach these people, I'm going to go and teach these people, good luck, kind of thing. So such a better start for someone.
And it's not, I mean, saying I know enough to teach someone is actually usually not the case. Usually
no one ever feels like that.
Or if they do, then they probably don't actually know enough. Like they just have enough passion or arrogance or whatever. I mean, I was there. I was the passionate, arrogant student and went over to having my own club and do it my way. And learned how much I didn't know over time and to accept not knowing. It's actually good and learn from others. I think that the more we can find these people, especially women, because there are way more male instructors out there, and just support them and give them the tools to, flourish and get somewhere, then that's the best. That's what we should all do.
So another passion of yours that people who are members of Hema in Pajamas, the lockdown Hema group, will know about is your current passion is handstands, but that kind of branches out from your other interest, which is strength training. Now, if you don't mind me saying, you've got admirably hench upper arms, which we're all jealous of. So when did that become a passion of yours?
So that actually came after Hema. So when I was really into tournaments and training and sparring every day, Kate said we should supplement our Hema training with strength training. And at the beginning, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna train to be strong enough to use the sword by using the sword. And she started doing that, and eventually I got dragged into it and I fell in love with it. I was like, wait a minute, I don't know anything about my own body. It's like, how do I even move? How did I function all my life without being given a manual on how to operate this?
That's a really interesting way of putting it.
It's interesting. The more we grow up, like the more I develop as a person, the more I'm like, why did no one give me a manual on how to be a human, how to not to be a douche, how to care for my body and remain healthy, how to move? It's like, I feel like you should, welcome to the world, baby. You can't read, but here's a manual for one day on how not to be an asshole, how to function in society, how to not to be selfish. It's like no one gives it to you, and then you grow up. Yeah, and you make all these mistakes, which everyone makes, and you're like acting like, a teenage douchebag and self, I don't know, an arrogant person in some cases. And then you're like, holy shit, I was a real jerk. and that's if you're lucky enough to learn it, like a lot of people just keep going like.
So yeah, your strength training came from a kind of curiosity about what you could actually do with your body. In terms of like personal image, I found that Hema's really affected me. I don't know about you, but I went from like, I think a lot of people they do strength training or they do any kind of exercise because they want to look good or they want to feel good about themselves, that kind of thing. And I think, like you, a lot of people they get into this hobby and they think, oh, the first thing people say is, oh, swords are heavy. Aren't they heavy? Oh, aren't they heavy? And then the next thing is like, right, I better get strong. I better get a bit stronger so that I can do this. And one way to do that, as you said, was to just use a sword a lot, and then you'll get strong enough to use it. Or you can supplement that with strength training and improve your physical form. But I think for me, I think what I liked about doing this sport, this hobby, this activity that makes you fitter, is that it happens by getting fitter happens by accident. It's not something you actively go out to do. It's not like, oh, I better go to the gym and get fit. It's like, I've got a tournament coming up in 2 months. I better get in the right physical condition for that. Or I just want to be able to do this hobby. I want to be able to do this activity better. And sort of a byproduct of that is that you get fitter. And
yes.
For me, it's not becoming, oh, do I look nice? So, have I got, nice abs or have I got nice arms or whatever? It's, what can I do? I can do better things than I could before. It's what my body can actually do, as you say, rather than just what it, aesthetically looks like.
Yeah, exactly. I care a lot more about how I move and what I'm capable of doing than how I actually look. I mean, not to say I don't care about how I look, but I feel like the way I move and the way I feel about my abilities, and I don't know how to express it, but like the way my body feels when I try to do certain actions is really the reason why I do strength training and to extend Hema and yoga and other things.
Okay, we've got some questions come in. Let's just see. One person is from Comox Valley Combat Guild, says, any tips for attracting new members? So you're are starting out. You've run 2 clubs of yourself. What's your advice, Shanee?
So obviously be out there, like online or in your local communities. One thing that we are able to do here, because we're running with the local school, is put advertisement in the school, like a poster.
So your venue is within a local school, is that right?
Yeah.
So you got that.
Yes, so we can put stuff there and in the local community, as well as obviously be on social media. And the rest of it I found was word of mouth. For example, you mentioned Elizabeth earlier. She was actually referred to me via Kelly from Stratford, and
Kelly's here with us.
yes, she is.
Watching.
And then Elizabeth brought a friend, and that is a very powerful tool. I did receive a few contacts via social media and the website. Unfortunately, it all happened after we went on lockdown, but I mean, we all only really put it up just before. And then be friendly and inviting and honest about what you know and what you don't know and what you're trying to achieve. Like, I think one of the things which works for us is that we are trying to make a good space for people to feel welcome and have some kind of ownership or, you know, a sense of belonging in. And
like a family sort of feeling.
yeah, I'd love that. That's really what I want to have in my club. And I mean, obviously, we're all brought there by the desire to play with swords to an extent. However, from my experience, that is not what's going to keep people.
No.
What's going to keep people is how it feels. Do they feel belonging there? Is
That's
it
an
friendly?
excellent point. Yeah, it's not just getting people in; it's keeping them there. It's retention of the numbers and minimizing the attrition.
So for me, I don't want to treat people as students. I really want everyone to be friends and everyone to be a part of, like you said, kind of a family in a way. And, you know, every now and then you might have someone who is only interested in sparring and only interested in swords, and they might find what they want. Hopefully I can deliver some, but at the end of the day, at least for me, that is not necessarily the mentality I'm looking for, unless it comes as part of people who are happy to be with other good people and work together.
I mean, for me, I run the School of the Sword in Godalming, and
Never heard of it.
Have you not? We've also got branches in Oxford and in Reading. There's also Waterloo Sparring Group in London. But like you're saying, like the question was, how do you get people in? And I think your point is, it's more important how do you keep them there. And I found that in our case, in all cases, like you say, it's creating that warm, welcoming environment, being as open and welcoming to as many different people as you can. You know, it goes back to like diversity, you know, not saying, you know, this is just for, you know, young people, or this is only for men, or this is only for, you know, no one actually sets out with those messages, but it's about what people perceive when they come in through the door. What does this place feel like? Does it feel like somewhere where I will fit in? Does it feel like somewhere where I'm going to get on? And if you kind of foster that that environment, that attitude of like, we're all here to help each other, that really goes a long, long way. And another thing I found, especially in places like Waterloo, is like, it's absolutely goes without question that after training, we all go to the pub. We all go, and then we socialise and we spend time together where we're not smacking each other around the head with swords. Because or otherwise what you tend to find is people spend more time chatting in class and they don't get enough time to train. If you say to yourself, we've got time to train later, we've got time to discuss and hang out and bond with each other later, right now let's do some training, and then that allows you to focus on what you're doing in that moment. And but the time spent afterwards hanging out together is often a lot longer than the training time, and that is really important, because it means like you're hanging around with these people, you get to see them with the mask off, and how they behave together in a sort of social environment, and it sort of makes you think, I want to go and hang out with those people again because this was fun.
Yeah. This is the best way to keep people. Just make them want to stay, because
make them want to stay.
Come for the swords, stay for the company.
Yay!
And swords.
I mean, on a sort of to sort of answer that question, obviously, I found Facebook. If you've got a Facebook page, Facebook ads is pretty good. It can if you just want to spend like, I don't know, $20, you can spread the word pretty far. If you want to say, and if you were going to do that, you could probably advertise like an open day, and then that allows people to, rather than committing to joining your school or anything, they can just literally come in and try stuff out. And just to see what it's like. I see someone was asking some questions in the chat. I see a cat. Very important. Purr, purr, purr. I didn't catch that accent.
Which was satisfied at least.
Oh, okay, so Shanee is from Israel, if someone was asking. Has it gone? What Anouk says, what is your favourite Hema book?
I don't know if I have one.
Okay.
I mean, there are so many, and I like so many for so many different things, you know. I like some of Mayer's The Art of Combat because of the beautiful illustrations. And
was that the Jeffrey Forgang translation? Yeah.
Yeah. The beautiful illustrations and the interesting attempt to teach longsword and other weapons as...
It's very comprehensive, isn't it? It covers an awful lot, that book.
Yes. But at the same time, it's really awful, I find. Like, it doesn't really, like, Mayer tries to explain a system, but I feel like what he basically does is he gives you a glossary and some plays, and it's like no actual, just a sec, no scratching.
Oh, no scratching, Jenny, bad.
Yes. And he doesn't actually give you foundation or concept. And I mean, you can get it. You can, with every book, you can get it by diving in long enough and extrapolating. But
isn't every manual like that though? They never ever give you the full picture. There's a lot of assumption. There's a lot of assumption that as the person reading this book, you already know a quantity of knowledge, and I'm here to give you either some reminders of stuff that we've done, or extra on top of what you already know, or here's just some flashy moves that look cool. There's always enormous gaps.
Yeah, exactly. In most cases, it's exactly that. I find that in Mayer, maybe like it was a bit interesting because it seemed to claim that it's preserving the art, or for, you know, people who don't have an instructor, that they can just use it as a study reference. But even then, like looking at it back from today, you know, working with a lot of documentation and technical sources, it's like most of the sources out there are awful. We have to extrapolate so much, and we have to make sense of so much. Like you say, you kind of have to either already have some experience, or they're just teaching you some bullshit, and you need to make sense what's actually useful and what's not. You know, it's kind of funny looking at the Streza sources, and I can't remember the name, the vulgar master who then became...
Tebow.
No, another one. Viedma. I think it might have been Viedma.
He does the Montante as well.
Yeah, I think so. If I remember correctly, he used to be vulgar, and then he became like true, the Streza. And there's stuff that Pacheco and Carnaza were like, no, you never do that. Like, kind of, I think it's kind of like the passata sotto, where you go low and come across. But then he's like, no, if you put your hands like this, now it is a conclusion. So it's like, everyone, even with their own timeline, argues what is the true art and what is the right way to do things. And sometimes it's even within the same art, like
Yeah.
within the tradition of the Stresa, within the tradition of Lichtenauer, you're
And
going
these
to
are
see.
contemporaries arguing at the time. The
Yeah,
people that we're studying, the ones that we're trying to extract information from, don't agree. So
yes.
that muddies the waters even more. So they're sort of like, they're saying, right, this is the one true way, and this other person saying, no, this is wrong, and they're arguing, and we're kind of looking on, 400 years, 500 years later, sometimes thinking, okay, so which one of you guys is right? And then you end up with sort
Oh,
of modern day, you can either get people who are like modern day disciples of this particular school, and then you get people who just sort of treat all of it as a kind of buffet and like, well, this bit works and that bit works, and I'm going to take a bit
yeah.
of this. I count myself as definitely in the latter camp. But there's a lot in. There's just so much out there, isn't there? It's hard. But I mean, the question was, what's your favorite Hema book? So that doesn't necessarily have to mean a source material, because I know that one of the people you admire, Keith Farrell,
Yeah.
has a very good German longsword manual. Was that something that you picked up early on when you started doing
I
longsword?
did. Yeah, I think it's Introduction to German Longsword or something. Oh no,
It's like a
study book or
study
something.
guide or something like that.
Yeah,
I think it's very
and
popular with the longsword
it's
people.
pretty
I say this
good.
as somebody who doesn't really do that much longsword.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. But once again, it's more for glossary. There is not enough concepts. Like, I don't think that anyone can pick that book and know how to fence in any meaningful way. They
It
will
is
know,
very
like,
much an assistance to your learning, isn't it?
yes, they will know like the name of a few actions and guards, and they might be able to try to replicate them, but it will have no meaning. I think one of my favorites maybe would be Devon Borman's. I really like Devon Borman's
Which book is
system.
this?
So he has one which is, I think, Introduction to Italian Rapier. And I am going to assume that he's going to have one on longsword, but I don't know for sure. But what I like about Devon Bowman's book is that it doesn't just talk about, plays that you do. It talks about concepts, and it talks about why you do things. And the why is the thing which bothers me so much when I see people trying to replicate plays from, the different sources. Like, a classic example is the zone how. Like, what is a zone how? You ask 10 different people, you might get 10 different answers.
Yes.
And it seems like finally the internet is starting to consolidate on an interpretation ever so slowly. But, a lot of people, the reason why they get to where they get is they're given a play, they're described a situation, they're described a few actions, and then they try to replicate it. They're not given the why, they're not given the how. And
they're
these are
just
really
literally
important.
copying the prescripted movements and hoping that that will inform, what and why and all the other questions and what this is about. But maybe starting off with those questions before you go in and experiment will make it more productive.
Exactly. And that is what I find so lacking, both in the historical manuals and in many of the modern manuals. Like, in programming, no one is going to tell me you write a for loop without why the fuck should I write a for loop?
I'll
But
tell
on
you what it's for. Yeah,
friend.
don't worry.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So it's just that you can't teach without concepts. So I do like Devon system for that. I might have to pick that as my favorite book, even though it's not historical. I'd love to see more modern authors come out with books that teach you concepts, and from concepts we will find plays, as opposed to using plays to try to
find the concepts that fit, find the plays that follow this concept rather than putting the cart before the horse.
And really emphasize why we're doing each action and break it down enough.
And also another benefit of doing that, I think, is it will help fix in people's minds the thing that they're learning. Otherwise it's just I'm just doing this drill. Why am I doing this drill? I have no idea. When are we going to spar?
So much. I find that the more you just the more I find myself in classes where people teach plays and don't explain the why, or not just why we are doing it, like why we're doing things the way we're doing them. The more that I see people just repeating like a robot and unable to find the weaknesses in what they're doing, It's like if you in German we talk a lot about or people talk a lot about Fühlen, Nach, Indes.
These are all concepts.
And Wo, but they're concepts, but actually even these concepts, like from the book, they're given as a glossary, I'd say. And
so are you saying that people don't fully or haven't made enough attempts to fully understand these concepts and explore what they are?
I'd say these concepts are potentially not even the important concepts. So if you follow like the concept, like the idea of controlling the other person's sword and being in the right relationship, like your sword on top, or at least creating a slope that guides their sword down to your heel.
So you're strong.
Yes. And then you are always going to be in the war, because you don't even need to know what war means. You know that you have the advantage.
You've got the advantage already. Yeah.
Exactly. So talk about it a step back. When I approach a fencing situation, I don't want to say a fight because there's no such thing. I don't care about who was the war. The war is a stupid concept. I care about who has the advantage. How do I maintain it? How do I gain it? How do I maintain it? And how do I use it? And incidentally, I'll have the war, they will have the knack, and I will maintain the war in this to their action, or whatever interpretation we'd like to argue about.
Because I've already dealt with those problems before they come up. It's not something I have to confront. It's already covered. Like my sword is already covering their sword.
Exactly.
It's not something I have to think about.
Yeah. And then, like, when I know that I just want to maintain that, and suddenly they're pushing my sword away, say they're doing a volta stabile, then, the disengage comes automatically because I have to maintain my advantage. And it will happen in this because I've trained to maintain my advantage really well. So that's it. Like, by teaching that singular concept of advantage and introducing people to what is advantage, how do I recognize who has advantage, and how do I get to the situation where I have it, then everything else will come from that. And suddenly, that is a question that I get a lot from people. How do I approach my opponent? Like, how do I hit my opponent? Do I just like go roar and strike them, or do I like feint and then attack? And it's like, none of it makes sense. You need to
just deal with what's in front of you. Yeah,
constrain their sword, constrain their direct line of action, and make their second line of action longer than you have to change to cover that one as they're acting.
Shanee.
And then you're able to just approach constraining their action and get to, bring the point home.
I think the trouble is because, a problem I perceive is that when we're fencing, we stop looking at it as someone is standing in front of us with a weapon threatening our lives. And it becomes, how can I hit them? If you're approached by someone with a knife, pointing a knife at you, and okay, let's just say there is, obviously the first thing you want to do is run away. Just don't be there. But your next question isn't going to be, how do I hit him? How do I hit them? It's going to be, how do I stop them from hitting me? How do I stop this knife from entering my body? If you think about it in those terms, like, how do I stay alive? How do I survive this situation? Not like, how do I hit them? Like, what? You're asking the wrong question.
Yeah.
Don't let them hit you. Do not let them hit you.
On that point, I'd like to add that one of the things which really taught me about fencing, and I do not recommend it to anyone without proper experience, is doing a lot of ungeared sparring.
This is a big thing of yours, isn't it? The no gear.
Not at all. No mask.
Gear, sort of flowy, slow speed sparring.
Yes, and again, maybe even calling it sparring is generous. Obviously,
playing. I'd call it playing.
It is playing. It's sparring to an extent, but it is playing. Like we might touch now and then to mark, but at the end of the day, like if I have the point, if I am in the position to bring the point home, I need to know not to do it, If I am able to cut the person's hands, I need to not smash their fingers and crush them. So, yeah, there are a lot of dangers in it. You have to know exactly what you're doing. You have to know that you're not actually there to hit each other. But it is a great learning tool. So in Long Point 2016, my finger broke during the judge training. And
so this is when you were being like a demonstrative fighter for the judge training.
Yeah, I was supposed to join the tournament later, and my finger broke on like day one, and fun times. But anyway, I couldn't put gloves on. I didn't want to fence with people in any serious manner because I just couldn't.
Yeah.
So I just went around, and it was a very interesting experience, very dangerous experience. Do not recommend. I just asked as many people as I could.
That's why you did that.
Fence with me without any gear.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. The moment you take the gear away from a person, they change the way they fence entirely. Suddenly, their sword is always in front of them, say in long point, codalonga, postalonga, however you want to call it. And suddenly the distance becomes a bit more increased.
A bit more realistic.
Yeah. A lot of people will start reacting to your weapon more and trying to either deflect it or stay away from it in one way or another. And, they're not going to fence the way they fence in a tournament. And I think this is a really teaching experience. I think that you really learn what it means to have the advantage when it's dangerous. And you even learn to move slower because you don't want to step into a situation where you're going to lose your eye. Or in this situation, because we are nice to each other, take someone else's eye out.
Yeah.
So
the threat has to be, even in that playful situation, counterintuitively, you've got more of it, even though it's like, you know, we're not actually fencing, we're just playing, but suddenly the awareness is heightened, the threat is real, it's
The threat
more
is
real.
real.
And
The threat is real, but the mood is different. I find that ungeared fencing, like having the mask off, seeing your friend's face. I hope they're your friend. If they're not, don't fence with them.
nope.
And that includes with gear as well. And people, I find, can relax a bit more. Obviously, some people will tense because, holy shit, there is a sword in front of me. But if you feel comfortable with each other, if you're able to see
I think
each other,
this is a very trust-based exercise as well, isn't it?
yeah.
And from
But
those kind of moments is when, I guess, if, like you said, you're going around an event just asking people, that's a real friendship forming moment as well.
You make friends really well
Yeah.
when you put each other's life on the line, it seems.
Let's risk our lives together.
Yeah, let's do something stupid, like hitting each other with the crowbar. But to be fair, like I want to take it a step back. Like in some ways, I find it safer than geared sparring, which I know is going to be very controversial. But so many, like if I ask a random person in an event to fence with me with gear, I'm
They're
actually
going to hit hard.
Yeah,
as good as they can.
Exactly. I'm going to risk broken fingers. I'm going to risk concussion and all kind of other trauma.
They're not putting their faith in themselves or you anymore at that point. They're putting their faith in the gear.
Yes, and the gear is not good enough. I can confidently say that I can probably concuss someone if I wanted through a mask. And you have to fence in a way where you care for your partner's safety and you want to get each other healthier than they started because they had a good time and they learned.
Yeah.
And
we don't break our toys, is what we say.
Yes. So in some ways I'm actually more anxious sparring random people with gear than without because I have no idea how
they're going to fence.
Yes. And people seem to get to this pressure, especially when someone is getting hit and they're unable to deal with you. Suddenly they just start going wilder and hit harder and more suicidal because you have a mask on, you're safe, you're good.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was a huge tangent for my favorite manuscript. Sorry.
That's all right. Let's just see if we got any more questions. Anouk, again, burpees or planking?
Neither. Unless I have to choose. Do I have to choose? I'd say plank is a safer movement. So burpees is a more complex action and you have to break it down to the 3 different movements. And I think a lot of people go to like CrossFit and they're like, do burpees, but they don't know how to do it. And suddenly their spine isn't braced properly and they go into all these bad positions. So, like at the gym, we see so many people doing bicep curls really badly with their whole body and, everything but the biceps.
Because they didn't read the manual on how to human.
I know, right? It's just no one told us how to move. So planks is a safer motion.
Planks is safer. Next question from Yasin. If someone were to invite you to teach at an event, what would you like to do? What would you like to teach?
So many things. It really depends on the level of the people and what else is happening. But longsword or partisan or universal mechanics on what is control, how do I control the opponent's weapon, how do I recognize it, and how do I use these mechanics and concepts to build a strategy.
Okay. How do we use concepts and mechanics? What else have we got in there? Yeah, that's why I hate it when people call them manuals, because they're not really manuals, are they? Sometimes they're just a sales pitch. Sometimes they're training notes. Sometimes they're just someone showing off.
I mean, there's literally records of someone telling you to carry a bag full with sand and throw it at the opponent. It's like, that's a trick.
Just throw some sand at people.
Yeah.
What else have we got here? Slow sparring. Yeah, that's got an approval. I feel like my workshops are just a series of trust exercises with a sword. Yeah.
Sure.
So have we got any more questions in here, folks? A few more people have joined us. I can hear that Jenny is very happy now the stroking has recommenced.
Yes. She loves that brush.
Yes, it says, when the lockdown ends, there's going to be people like Shanee that will be healthy and kick our asses in tournaments, and the rest of us will be in top form for lasagna eating competitions.
To be fair, I love lasagna.
I love lasagna. I think since the lockdown started, I've been just throwing myself into either cooking and eating and drinking or doing Hema stuff and weight training. So I think I've probably those things have cancelled each other out. In my case, I'm just going to be exactly as I was before everything started. I think, I don't know if I did this earlier. Did I say this? Which Hema event is on your wish list? This is from a note.
Yeah.
I mean, it's difficult now because everything's cancelled, but hypothetically, which event, maybe one you've never been to that you've always wanted to attend?
Never been to.
Because I mean, I've not been to Long Point. That's one that I'd like to go to. Have you been to the Western Martial Arts? Is it Western Martial Arts Workshops?
Love that one.
That's a big one.
Favorite at the moment.
What was that one like?
It's really good. So again, a lot of international instructors, and it's 3 days in this beautiful.
It's a big hall, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a reconstruction of, I'm not sure what it is, like a church or something, but it's like a very beautiful, so it's in the USA, so it's a very beautiful historical European-like building. So basically you have it here.
A reproduction of one.
Yes. But it's really nice. It's just 3 days there with lovely people and really good instructors. I remember hearing about some event that happened in a castle somewhere. I'd really love to go into one of those.
I know there's one in Malta, it's in a fort, held in a fort. That's held every November by the main Hema club there. I forgot what it's called now, but that's one I'd like to visit, and that's also a Game of Thrones location, filming location.
Oh, that's cool.
That is cool. So
sorry.
The question was, which event do you want to go to next? Obviously, it's By the Sword. Everyone
actually,
wants to
this is exactly what I wanted to say, because I've never managed to get there, and I was supposed
and you were meant to be teaching.
Right?
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, we've been rescheduled till the end of August, and I'm not confident that the lockdown and everything will allow for it. If it does, brilliant. If not, then we're just going to have to push it back. Or push it forwards. I'm never sure about how the time works in this instance. Are we pushing it forwards in time, or are we pushing it back into the year? I don't know, but we're going to push it further into the future if we have to, because spent so long planning this thing, and then COVID-19 threw everything out the window, and here we are doing live streams instead of teaching.
So...
It's going to be so amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also Swords of Winter. I mean,
and Swords of Winter.
Previously known as Swords of Spring, I think.
No, resprayed as Swords of Winter.
Yes.
That's a really nice one. I really enjoy those ones. The kind of event that I, as an event organizer, enjoy the most are workshop based to do rather than attend. Are ones where you just get a bunch of people together who are really good at what they teach, and a bunch of other people who want to learn stuff, and stick them all together in a room, and it's just so much fun.
These are my favorites too. Like when I go to places, I want to learn more than I want to fight. I mean, I want to fight, but
yeah,
I mostly want to learn and to develop. So some of my favorites for that are the Western martial arts workshop, WMAW or WAMAW, and similarly, Vancouver International Swordplay Symposium. Quite good.
Yeah. That's hosted by Academy Duello, is it not?
It is, yes.
Yeah.
I actually helped organize the instructor roster for this year, but I couldn't go there myself, unfortunately.
Same.
And then I really like Fight Camp because I met many amazing people there. That's how I met you, and where I met Kate, and and they were
Fight
really
Camp
good.
is a really fun event. I haven't been for a few years. I was looking forward to going again this summer because the nice thing about Fight Camp is it's just so big, and it's relaxed. It is basically hanging out with your friends for a few days in a tent,
exactly,
hitting each other with swords and just chilling. It's a lovely atmosphere. We've got another question popped in here. I've just noticed. Oh, again, Comox Valley Combat Guild. What are your views on deception and game theory concepts as applied to sword fighting? Okay.
Deception and what?
And game theory concepts applied to. So gaming, I guess that means like gaming as part of gaming the system.
I'm not sure if that's what game theory means.
I don't know, maybe that's how I interpreted it.
Yeah. Honestly, I'd need more clarity about the question.
Comox Valley Sword Combat Guild, if you're still with us, can you just clarify what you mean in the comments? I know they're here, whoever that is. They make great lasagna, apparently.
Lasagna is great. I mean, I would.
Lasagna is life.
Be all up for a good lasagna, right?
So, deception as part of fencing. How does that sit with you?
Yeah,
I mean, it's all about deception, is it not?
In a way, yes.
We've got 2 minutes left.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, I mean, yes, deception has a big deal in fencing, but again, it has to work with a very basic concept. For example, control, advantage, keeping your distance and safety, and the deception should be to help you gain these positions so you can safely close the distance and bring your point home. However, at the same time, it should adhere to other concepts where you do not do a deception in a way that will put you in more danger. I see a lot of people.
A feint is a form of a deception, and when you do a feint, you have to be careful to do it in such a way that you're not increasing your risk. You're trying to encourage a behaviour in your opponent that you can then exploit. I think Giganti says in his book too, when two masters fence, they don't exchange cuts and thrusts. They exchange wiles and deceits. So it's just saying if your knowledge level, you're both really good at fencing, it suddenly stops becoming about fencing. It becomes about who can out trick the other person. Oh, here we go. Comox Valley Sword Guild. We've got 33 seconds left. Game theory, e.g., if he thinks that I think that he thinks, kind of like chess, adds on to the deception. So that's I think that's what we've covered there.
Yeah. So fencing is a lot about making patterns and breaking them and creating situations where you can exploit. So definitely has a park.
We're going to have to wind it up there. It's been lovely to have you. Everyone